My family wants my sister, who is the perfect child, to wear white to my wedding. I'm going to hurt them again. In my free time, I'm writing this long story. It feels good to type it out, and my husband is more excited about this than the drinks at the lodge. I'm not going to use this because I don't have a Reddit account, and my husband, who loves Reddit, told me he doesn't want this to be connected to his hair. He said that since it was about his family, he should post the story. That's why the guy from Reddit isn't writing this, but he is looking over my shoulder to help. There's no way for me to know for sure if this works or not, but please don't post it anywhere else. To start, I think it's important to explain how this behavior got to this point and why we acted the way we did. I'm sorry it's so long. Their love for my sister has always been stronger than their love for me. I'm not talking about being sneaky either. They would punish me if my sister said something bad about me. They wouldn't believe me if I said I blamed her. They would still try to find a way to scold me while giving her a lighter term, even if there was clear proof. She had to be able to pick out my birthday cake flavor. They always said they didn't know I didn't like that kind of cake because hers didn't have that on it. They always the place she chose, even though it was mine. My sister was spoiled as a kid and didn't like me. She hit me. She didn't think much about me at first though, but things got really bad when we were young teens. I don't know why she lost her friends, but she started acting worse. Have her friends moved? Because she was mean. Did they leave her? We were never close, and my parents loved telling everyone how smart she was, but they never brought up any issues. On the other hand, they were always making fun of me for my flaws. I knew she wasn't hanging out with anyone else, because we went to the same school. That's how I knew she didn't have any. She wasn't friends with anyone anyway. Yes, I did. I used to be pretty well known. When my sister found out that, she didn't just hit me, sometimes she had to get back at me all the time. She started to say more bad things about me. I blamed my friends for more things. Like, your sister says they're not good people, or why are you trying to leave us? My parents wouldn't let me hang out with anyone. Why can't you spend time with your family like your sister does? I wasn't totally alone because I had a big family. Most of my family lived in the same town. My friends and I got along even though we were all different ages. They asked me to come to something at one event, but I can't remember what it was. They were sad when I told them I couldn't go. When I was younger and didn't protect myself, I told people I couldn't have friends because my sister didn't have any. Adults must have heard that because they broke up my parents. After that, I lied and was told I couldn't go anywhere for a month. But they let me move after that, so it was worth it. My sister also changed schools. I think the fact that her family knew she was having a bad time with people made her demand that things be changed. They agreed right away, even though the school was farther away and cost more. She did make friends at her new school though. She never went back to ignoring me most of the time though. She probably wouldn't have let me go because she knew how badly she could hurt me and was mad that I told her family she didn't have any friends. My life was still bad. Everyone in my family thought it was funny when her friends would pick on me. They were bad hosts, and my sister would say they stole something, and they believed her. I never had friends over because of this. I did become close with my cousins though, since my parents would never do that with family. Then I got my first boyfriend. I didn't want to bring him home, but my parents made me. We were apart for a while, and he came to find me to tell me that. My sister was kissing him. He meant that she came over wearing almost nothing and made fun of me while telling him how bad I was and how good she was. He was mad, so he ran to find me. But my sister told my parents something different. She said my boyfriend had tried to flirt with her instead, but she turned him down because she knew she was hurting me. You probably guessed who they thought. Something made me believe my boyfriend right away, even though he wasn't perfect. Remember though, that I was a teenager at the time, and wasn't doing anything wrong when I was being picked on. I was mad and sour, and I hated my sister as much as she hated me. Let's talk about looks now that that's out of the way. I had not brought them up yet. Because they were not important, they were and still are overweight. They bought her treats, gave her more food, and other things to show they loved her through food. This is why my sister was and still is overweight. I used to be, but now I'm not. As a matter of fact, I've always been pretty skinny since I wasn't given many treats or snacks as a reward. Weight doesn't matter, that much is clear. Your personality is what? But my sister was already mean and spoiled at that point. Since my parents always gave her what she wanted, she was bad at everything, even flirting. Never learned how to work for what she wanted. She also didn't look like a hot model. I never thought my boyfriend would try to cheat on me with her, even when I was a shy kid. Anyway, my parents told me I couldn't go out with that bad boy. It was tough for me to keep going alone. And the two broke up. I did get another one, but when he turned her down, my sister said he was flirting with her again. For the second time, my parents believed her. They thought I couldn't make good choices because I kept getting bad boyfriends, even though I tried to tell them that this kept happening. Because of Romeo and Juliet, the relationship broke up again. The fact that I didn't mind making out with boys or anything made people call me a slut when I was in high school. I'm glad it didn't get to my dad or sister. During this whole time, my sister did have one boyfriend. The people I live with kept telling me how great he was and why I couldn't find someone like my sister did. Up until he stopped coming, at which point he lied to my sister and was caught. What the heck? Things kept getting unfair at this point. She had stricter rules about curfews and more money to spend than I did. I couldn't go anywhere at any time, but she could. If I told them, they'd say it's because she's older. But when I was that age, I wasn't treated the same way she was. It's either because they couldn't trust me like she could, or they say they never said that. They use the accusations my sister made against my boyfriend and friends as proof of how bad I am at making decisions. My sister has reached the end goal over time. She got into college, but it wasn't a great one, and she didn't have any help or money. Finally, I only knew what she had done, so I have no idea which places she even applied to. This means I can't say how badly she was turned down. She got bad grades because we had a party every time she got a B? My folks wouldn't let me go to parties when I did well in school. They told her they'd pay for everything and made a big deal out of it. She said, since I always got those, what was the point? I was glad she was going, but my life didn't get better. Every other weekend, when she got home, her room would be empty. And she would always find new ways to make my life miserable. Things like that. It was still after midnight for me. My mom finally came to talk to me about my graduate school. We are only 1 year apart in age. She told me they couldn't pay for my college because they were already paying for my sister's. I shouldn't wait until my sister leaves college to see if they can pay for something for me. I should get a job as soon as I graduate. What else? I would have to pay for everything, including rent and some bills, if I stayed home. I told them I could get money to go to school. Mom said yes, but not really. They would decide if going to college was worth the money I would have to borrow because they cared about me so much and thought I was so stupid. I don't know how they'd stop me from getting loans since they didn't say. They had no idea what my grades were and never believed in my skills. I didn't even blink though. My mom didn't see that coming and kept pushing. All I said was okay. She might have wanted me to throw a fit so they could use it as an excuse to not pay for my college. That was all I said. I told them I understood and thanked them for caring. After that, my dad did the same thing, but I still didn't show how I felt. For some reason, I never had any dreams for school because my parents were always bad parents. They would find a reason not to pay for mine, which would be terrible for me. I didn't think they would pay me if I worked while my sister finished. I got ready for college for a long time. I had a lot of time to study because I didn't have many friends and couldn't go out much. I did learn. I believed that going to college was the only way for me to escape everything. I worked very hard and was able to get a grant when the time came, not to Ivy League U, law school, medical school, or any other place, but it was a good college school, and he was able to go for free. I did something great and shared it on social media with my parents and sister at the same time. I knew my sister would hate it and try to stop me. I had to push myself to thank them in the letter. They would have to explain to my family why they couldn't stop me. In the beginning, they were even a little proud and told everyone about it. They were so proud, but I think my sister told them to calm down. They changed their minds and even asked me if I was sure I wanted to go. Someone told me that college was hard for my sister. I would have it worse than her because she was smarter and had better judgment than me. It's clear that I didn't give up. They were upset, but there was nothing they could do. Going to college made my life better. I felt better. Even though they wouldn't pay for anything, I still talked to them and saw them on holidays and other times. I guess you could say I wasn't going as often because of money. I didn't bring any guys to their attention during this time, and my sister stopped going to college. I know she didn't finish, because they would have made a big deal out of it again. They said it was different. After I moved back in with them and stopped paying rent and bills, it was also possible for me to start working at the same place as my mom, since she was able to make it happen. I was told that all of this was something to be proud of. What the heck? I promise we'll get there soon. This is how I met my husband. If I were in that situation, I would have done that. Types of people include my husband. I'm usually nice and mild, but at night, I can't sleep, because I feel like I should have done something, said something funny, etc. I cry all the time when I'm mad. My husband is the kind of guy who answers right away. He loves trouble and likes to fix it. If he doesn't react right away to being hurt, you should start to worry about him. He's not going to forget and forgive. He's just going to hurt her more to get back at her. He wanted me to write about nuclear payback here and on a board, but he changed his mind because what we did wasn't nuclear. Some people didn't get why I dated him, but I liked it. Given how I was brought up, I doubt I could behave like him. I love that he can do things I can't. He's also nice to people as long as they're nice to him back. We didn't think too much about the ceremony when we talked about getting married because we didn't have a lot of money. We planned to take our wedding money and use it to book a dream trip to Europe. We picked my city because his family was spread out and mine was still mostly together. We didn't live too far away either, so on the weekends we could go on long trips to get things done. Plus I had some freedom at work, so we could stay in my city for a while if we had to. Folks were told about our wedding and asked to save the date for a few months from now. You probably guessed that next, my parents wanted to meet my boyfriend. I had a hard time finding a reason to refuse. Being so far away from them made me think they might not be so bad. When I told my husband that I would never leave them alone with him, he looked like Christmas had been tossed out. You see, he had been getting ready for this. To keep track of everything, he bought a good recorder that he could carry around with him. He was excited because he could think of many ways to insult my sister, turn down her advances, and then play the recording of her advances for my family. He was excited to meet them, so he went off by himself. He came back later, and he felt great. You won't believe how bad that is, honey. It's really possible, honey, that we can fuck them over so badly. He told me it would be better to hear him first, because I was lost and wanted to listen to the recording. I wouldn't understand him otherwise. He did go there, but my parents and sister sat him down instead of letting him talk. That they didn't like him, my decisions, etc., and then they said they'd pay for my wedding, but there was a catch. My sister, dressed in a wedding dress, would be the first person to walk down the aisle at my wedding. They said it wasn't fair for my younger sister to get married before me, so my sister should have seen the venue, the dress, and the pictures. After work, she was going to have cake, etc. Now my husband is going to type his part. Hey, this is an angry husband. If someone hurts someone they care about, they will do anything to get even if it means going nuclear. That being said, he, who is now my wife, says I'm a very smart guy. But I have to say, my brain pretty much shut down when those people seriously suggested that stuff is a great gift. He believes that even Troy would pick to bring the horse back inside. When my brain finally came back to life, I was going to insult these fucks. But something inside me said, straighten these fucks out, so I told them I had to think about it and see how my then fiancé, now wife, would react. Then I ran away before they could find out what I was up to. Wife, come back to me. I told my husband the truth. My parents wanted my wedding to be about my sister instead of me. He smiled and said it. He had the tape to back it up. I was shocked. It was nicer with them when we were far away, and I didn't think they'd go that far. Being happy was kept up by the fact that my husband wouldn't stop talking about getting even. It was a lot of fun coming up with stupid things they could do that would get them in trouble. Once we had a plan, we called his much calmer brother. It meant, among other things, having two place names and giving them the wrong one. Our smart brother told us off for it, though. He told us that he would never be able to stop us from getting back at him, but at least he showed us how hard it would be. Some of our other ideas could have also gotten us sued. We picked the plan that would hurt people the least in the end. Do what we decided, but don't let her in until you pay guards. Of course, that wouldn't make it pro-venge by itself. My husband did most of the rest, but he wants me to be in charge, so here it is. It's important to remember that everything he did was planned and agreed upon by both of us. He told my parents that he thought I wouldn't agree with it after researching it. Still, he didn't see what was wrong and didn't want the family to break up, so he helped them. I might not throw a fit in front of everyone if it was a surprise, but he said, "I don't like disagreements, but getting married is a big deal. Who knew if I would lose it?" He came up with a way to do it. They'd help pay for things. Since we would be in public and our families would be there, this would make me feel even more like I had to be quiet. Also, I'd be grateful for their help, which would make me feel better. He said my parents looked shocked. As my bigger sister started to skip happily. Yes, like a kid. That's why it was fine. Important. My husband also said that these words came from bad boyfriends I've had in the past, and that I'm so glad to use them against them. I liked to check his phone and other things to make sure he wasn't cheating on me. I was suspicious and bossy. It was very important that this plan never got written down because of this. When my sister walked down the aisle before me, he would go over to their house to talk about anything. The months of lying began. My parents and sister thought they were playing a joke on me, but my husband and I were really having fun with them. How? My parents wanted to be involved in every part of the wedding because they didn't want to pay for it and then not be there. To keep me in line, my husband would talk them out of things that were important to me, like the songs and color scheme. They thought anything was okay since we weren't interested in the event anyway. This is what we did. We'd go check out the food and drinks, for example. The cheapest or second cheapest option would be our next pick. After that, my husband would sneak my sister there to try it out too. Then sigh and say, "It's too bad we don't want to use my parents' kindness to get the best options." My sister then told my parents they had to pay more for the best. After that, they would tell me not to worry and make me buy the most expensive one. It was the same thing I did with the DSLR. Things that grow. The flowers we wanted were given to my sister by my husband. He then told her I wanted some other, less pretty flowers. They were telling me that they would pay for us to go with those flowers. Get ready for the wedding. There was a small mistake here. They told me to put on a really bad dress. Not really ugly, but nice enough. It wasn't my style and I wouldn't look good in it. We were going to say yes, but not use it. But my mom texted me about it. You'll know I said yes that way. We had to do what I said and stand my ground when I said no to the text message. He went over there and said he'd see what he could do. My sister told me to ruin the dress I had planned to wear, so I would have to do something else. He looked like he agreed. They didn't really text each other all this time. For it to happen, we had me answer this when my sister tried to text my husband. They believed my husband when he said, "I'm controlling and neurotic," so they never wrote anything down. Also, some people might not like the thought of their partner telling their family bad things about them. Even though I told him to do it, the thought of painting me as this bossy and dangerous BT makes me laugh out loud. There's a lot of different things that make me laugh. LOL. He seemed torn. My sister tried to flirt with him. My husband would also act like he was telling them things I didn't know to make it look like he was with them. He never told them, though, that we hired guards. It was really funny. We really wanted to save money for our honeymoon, so we thought about getting married in a courthouse. We had this big, pricey wedding instead, but we didn't really spend any money on it. We called it back to make up for what my parents did to my mind, LOL. Okay, he just proved what I already thought, LOL. I believe my husband liked tricking them more than making plans for our wedding, LOL. If a guy thought about spending all day Saturday in the car with his in-laws talking about wedding plans, I didn't think he could smile. But here we are. The day came quickly. Plan B was to wait until everyone was seated. The husband of my parents' sister made it. So I wouldn't see her and try to stop them. They would have my sister show up at that exact time. The bride always shows up late. After that, she would walk down the aisle. When I found out what had happened, it was too late to do anything. There was some fabric left over after making changes to my dress. My husband saved it and took it to my folks' house. Their sister still lives with them, and she showed them proof that he ruined the dress. He then told me he had to go back to me because I was mad and needed to calm down. He said he'd see them at the wedding. To begin with, we were careful to hide our real defense. My family and friends got there and could only see a woman crossing names off a list. The man who looked like a guardian wasn't shown up until my parents got there and sat down. We gave him a big tip and told him not to let anyone in except my sister. If he didn't, we'd tell everyone. The time came soon enough. My dad went and told everyone to leave after getting a text message that my sister was almost there. My girls did what he told them to do before the wedding, even though they didn't ask me first. My dad stood at the door like he was waiting for me as soon as everyone was sitting down. A friend who wasn't in the wedding party told me to get ready through text. This is what I asked because my husband, the girls, or other people could be seen texting if they pulled out their phones. This friend knew about the plan. My husband and her are friends, and she loves making problems just as much as he does. She didn't mind that she was a girl. The wedding song started to play as soon as my dad took his place. The doors opened, and I walked in. My dad couldn't believe I was there. He turned around and looked back at me, but he couldn't see what happened to my sister because he couldn't see the door to the venue. The phone then went off. The caller ID showed that it was her. He left me there and said, something came up. Everyone gasped and turned to look at each other. A friend who was there asked out loud what was going on. Through tears, I lied and said that he told me I wasn't supposed to be there. We agreed that I should say that if he dared to leave me to make him look bad. He didn't say that. If you asked me what made me cry, I'd say it wasn't how well I played the part. I didn't really think he would leave me there, even with everything. It was all a joke about the sister thing. I'm not sure. That made me want to cry even more because I was hurt and still am. The friend then asked in a loud voice, what did he mean by it? Shouldn't be you, he then said. I'll go check. And he ran off so that as many people as possible would hear and spread the word. We did this so she could mess up the security and my dad would not be able to come back and stop the wedding or something. My mom also left at some point. My husband's dad quickly came over and grabbed my arm. Someone told him that he might have to. I liked seeing him work so hard to get to me. Little by little. People talked about what had happened as I walked down the aisle. It looks like some left to check too. Everything was fine when I got to my husband. I felt better after laughing with him. My sad face looked so real that I should have won an Oscar. Don't worry. He was going to beat them up for what they did, LOL. Nothing went wrong with our wedding. The kids didn't come back. No one was brave enough to tell me what was going on though. A lot of people were leaving and coming back during the party, that much I saw. Someone did talk in my husband's ear, and then he left. He came back after a while with a mean face, but he told me in a whisper that he had to go hide somewhere before he lost his cool and started laughing LOL. It worked, which is good news. After the fact, friends, family, the security guard, and my husband told me the story below. There was a wedding dress on my sister. The guards wouldn't let her in. As planned, he told her she was in the wrong place because there was already a bride there. As promised, we did leave him a big tip. My dad went there and told him he had never heard of him, and that he couldn't be working there to make him afraid of the police. The guard agreed with the police because that was his job. My dad tried to get him to let my sister in, but it was too late. The friend then came over, called my sister names, yelled at her, and asked what was wrong, stopping most of the time. My mom and some other people soon showed up. The plans for the wedding were over. They could only try to fix the damage now that everyone knew about it. A lot of people were shocked that they would try to pull it off and were making fun of them. They lied about my husband because they said it wasn't a secret. Someone then called my husband. When he got there, he told them over and over that he wasn't guilty. He used words like gatekeeper, girl boss, and gaslight. He said he had never agreed to something so stupid before. He asked for proof when they said he did, but they couldn't give it to him. The only text messages they could find were about normal things like wedding plans. My sister was sitting on the floor and kicking her legs like a child while she screamed and cried. My dad was about to hit my husband, but the cops and other people stopped him. They said they didn't have proof because my husband told them not to text. He laughed and asked again, "Wow, how convenient," how he yelled at them for being bad parents and said he wasn't going to let their stupid plans or lies get in the way of his wedding. He then came back to me. They weren't believed. Some video cameras were set up there. but they wouldn't let me see the recording for safety reasons. But some people recorded some of it on video. It was really funny to see my parents and sister fight in front of everyone at the theater. They were blamed for things for years, but no one believed them. One of the best wedding gifts was seeing them enjoy a taste. My mom was crying, and my sister was still crying and screaming on the floor. Dad was going from purple to white all the time. It was always brought up that my husband was involved. A lot of people, though, asked me why my husband would agree. Why didn't you have proof? Why did they want my sister to behave this way at my wedding? They had no good answers for any of them. When they finally got the word to leave, they had no choice but to do it. My sister wouldn't get up, so my dad had to drag her up. Once more, no one talked to me all night. They probably didn't want to hurt me. Everyone seemed to go out of their way to be nice, happy, and excited about everything. It might have been because I was the bride and not just a friend. My husband says that the expensive food and drinks they were having really helped, LOL. It was fun. After putting on a fake angry face for a short time, my husband began to smile again. Before our getaway, we went to the hotel to rest. Also, my parents offered to pay for our plane tickets, but we declined because we believed it would be risky for them to attempt to cancel them. All three have tried to get in touch with me since then, but my husband insisted on keeping track of calls, so I've turned them down. I was smart, because in the end my sister did send me a message. It was crazy and didn't make sense, so I'm not going to say it again. The most important thing was that she said I made her look bad. She told them that my husband was a two-faced snake who had been lying for months. He really wants to print that out and put it on our wall, haha. He also wanted to cheat on me and was sure he would. She also told me she thought he was seeing someone else while he was with me. My husband took my phone and screenshotted the call logs, a message from my sister, and some messages from my parents telling me to call them back. After that, he sent everything to our family group chat, and I sent him copies of messages where they swore at him and called him names. But he kept telling me, "You're crazy, I wouldn't agree to anything," and I even told them I would sue them for harm and malicious speech. His message to me in that group chat begged my family to help him because they were bugging me all the time. They tried to mess up my wedding but fell short. He begged his family not to damage my trip. At the end, he asked them nicely not to tell anyone where we were. This way, my parents wouldn't tell my sister that he agreed to pretend to fuck her in our honeymoon room, which would be awkward. LOL. My family told him they'd take care of it. Since then, there has been no sound at all. My sister didn't break the rules, so my husband couldn't tell on her again while calling her a new jerk. This makes him a little sad. We'll see how long it lasts. I would have liked to have a normal, loving family at my wedding, but I'm glad they didn't ruin anything important to me and that I got them back. Get more details. Do I know why they're being so mean to me? I get this question a lot. So I think you all will too. I still don't know, and everything in my life makes me think about this. I asked when I was young, but they said it didn't make a difference and that I was being spoiled. That's why I gave up. I have a lot of ideas, but this one looks like the most likely one based on what I've seen. It wasn't planned. They were so happy to finally have my sister after a long wait. Not only was she wanted, but she also came as a surprise. But since we're not that far apart in age, I think they didn't expect to have a child so quickly or easily. They also didn't protect my sister enough after she was born, which was way too soon, and I might not have known my mom was pregnant until it was too late. They had to take care of both their child and the baby that wasn't planned at the same time. They don't have a lot of money either. The extra cost might not have helped. They didn't like me. But that's what I believe. I understand that the answer won't really matter. What they did to me was wrong, no matter what. They were crazy to think this would work. It was brought up, and we believe they never meant to do this in the first place. We think my sister got mad that I got married before her because she doesn't get many dates. They made my husband that crazy offer because they didn't want to pay for my wedding and didn't think we'd take it or that it would make them look good. They could make my sister think they were nice, but they would have a reason not to give me money if they asked and were turned down. But then my husband agreed. They couldn't break their promise, or my sister might turn against them.